It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked me what the time was that was on my watch. Yeah, I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? If so, I can't imagine why. We've all got time enough to cry.
Welcome in. Nice to have you aboard on a rainy, gloomy Wednesday. Now, maybe it's rainy, maybe it's gloomy, because, those poor Grizzlies. History repeats itself. Grizz have a lead. Not a huge lead. They're up 6, under 10 minutes to go, and then they can't hit a shot. They couldn't hit a shot for most of the game. They could not hit a shot in that stretch, that is for sure. The Lakers go on a 17-4 run. Mainly Anthony Davis. Who the heck is Troy Brown? I've watched Troy Brown the last couple of LA games. I saw him play against Golden State. He hits big-time clutch threes. He did, I think in that 17-4 stretch, he hit 2 threes in that. So Brown's hitting. Can't stop AD, who ends up with 30 points, 22 rebounds. And the Lakers all of a sudden look like they're going to make the playoffs. The Grizzlies, all of a sudden, are now tied with Sacramento for second place. Kind of saw this coming, and now it's here. Now they do come home, but guess who they play? Golden State. Now, Golden State's an awful team. You know, the Golden State's only won 7 games on the road this year. As bad as Memphis is on the road, Golden State's worse. But probably, what would you say? What are the odds on Ja being a part of this?
I would bet against it.
I'm with you. What I found interesting is Taylor Jenkins, said in a pregame thing with the Lakers, or maybe it was the game before with the Clippers, that this was going to be a while. He had to go through a process, and he was whatever demons are in there that he has to heal from. That it would be a while. And then he clarified in the postgame where, it's day-to-day kind of. So I don't know, but I suspect because the NBA is still investigating, Glendale police are still investigating, who knows exactly when Ja will be back. So if Ja's not there, we know Brandon Clark's not going to be there. What's the status of Steven Adams? But let's say Steven Adams doesn't play. As good as Tillman has tried to be in this thing, he's a bench player. He's not a starter. So what will happen with Golden State? These teams don't like each other. Dylan Brooks said he does not like Draymond Green. Just flat out named it.
Not the right team to give motivation to, I'm afraid.
Well, he's done that. So, man, they're in a tough spot. The only good thing is that Golden State's so bad on the road this year.
Yeah, I just looked quickly. 4-9 since the turn of the new calendar year. They've lost 2 in a row on the road, including last night. They lost a tough game to Oklahoma City.
I think they're 7-25 or something like that
for the whole year. Yeah, and 4-9 since 2023 has started. So that means they only won 3 games on the road in 2022 as a whole.
That's incredible.
It's crazy.
But if this team doesn't have Adams and it's not going to have Clark.
It's
not probably going to have Ja. It's tough. It is really, really tough. I just hope they hold on to the 4 seed, so you get a home series in all of that. We'll get into that. Let's just go with that right now.
Okay.
I do want to talk about the Lady Tigers because I'm excited about that craziness, right? They won last night. They were behind the whole game, but let's finish these thoughts on the Grizz. Last night they shot 39% for the game. They were 9 of 37, 24% from three-point range. The two guys now that really have to score because Ja's no longer around, those two guys, Bain and Brooks, they shot, I think, a combined 27%.
Yeah, terrible.
I watched Dylan Brooks, who I think was 3 of his first 5 and then, was zip. Down the stretch when they were on that 17-4 run, Dylan Brooks missed either 3 or 4 straight threes, every one of them short. Now, it makes you wonder, you know what happens when you are short with all your shots? Most of the time, your legs are fatigued. The Grizzlies have great third quarters. They're the best third quarter team in the league. They're the second to last worst in the league in the fourth quarter. Could it be? I'm just throwing this out there. I don't really know. But could it be they're not as well conditioned as maybe they need to be? Because this fourth quarter thing happens all the time.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. It could be too long of minutes over one stretch of time, like playing too many minutes in the second half.
But you know what? I hear the complaints are that Taylor Jenkins sticks to his rotation, doesn't adjust to win games at the end. He plays his starters the least amount of minutes than every other contending team.
Well, he's in good company in that regard because the Mavericks fired Rick Carlisle for the same thing, and now they hired Jason Kidd that just plays Luka the whole game. He can play the whole game, man. It doesn't matter.
Well, he's old school.
He is.
And I'll be honest with you, I kind of feel that way. Yeah, what I find is interesting, I asked Penny Hardaway why he thought there were so many injuries. And he said it's because players in his era, that's all they did in the summer was they played basketball the whole time. Now, these guys, they may play 2 or 3 games in the AAU, but they're structured, right? So you're only going to play so many minutes because you're part of a rotation. You're not playing the whole day. And then you go back to your hotel room and play video games with your buddies. You're really not getting in great shape. And he thinks that's a part of it. Maybe because because I don't think the injuries are going down with load management, are they?
They're not.
No.
Stan Van Gundy said the same thing. He said it's all these soft tissue injuries. It has to do with, sometimes playing is the best way to prevent injury.
I'm 100%. I think the load management stuff, now, I hear the arguments. Well, back in the day, they walked the ball up. And that's why you could play so many minutes, because you didn't play that hard on both sides of the floor like you do now.
Yeah.
Well, the pace of the game is faster. I'll say that.
More
Part of the
possessions.
reason the scoring is up so high, though, is look at the amount of attempts from three-point range. Now, that was never as integral in the game as it is now. So, to me, the point totals are up higher because there's a lot more threes involved in the game plan, and frankly, guys have gotten better at shooting threes.
Certainly. A lot more possessions now, too. And it's not, like you said, what you just said is essentially the hypothesis that everyone went into this load management stuff. But I find it peculiar that if injuries are up, it's clearly not working. There should at least be 1 or 2 teams out there. I guess you could say the Knicks, Tom Thibodeau runs those guys into the ground. They play 50 minutes a game or whatever the case might be. But it seems to me that there should at least be one team out there that's saying, okay, this isn't working. Let's try an opposite approach to prevent injuries, but it just doesn't exist.
Well, I think load management is horrible for the fans, for one. For two, I'm not sure it works. And if it actually is upping the ante, come on, man.
Someone has to have the contrary opinion.
Maybe it'll be a Tom Thibodeau team that'll rip that up. I don't know. It is crazy. All right. This was really cool. So the Lakers retired Pau Gasol's jersey. I think a big reason why, honestly, was that Kobe Bryant basically prophesized that this would be the case and that his jersey would hang next to Kobe's. And that's what they did last night. Vanessa Bryant was there, her first time in the arena since Kobe's passing. Mark Gasol and all of his family was there for it too. I think that is very cool. Phil Jackson was in the house. He rarely goes to games anymore. Is he still seeing
Genie Bus?
Genie?
I
Yeah.
believe so, but let me check.
That's a great story if it is.
That's crazy.
Ever tell you the story that when they first started dating, and I knew Phil Jackson because of the Bulls stuff, and so we were just. She came. I was at WMC at the time. She came to that studio, and sitting down, I said, "So, what book has Phil given you?" And she said, "That's the best question anybody's ever asked me."
It looks like they terminated their relationship in 2016.
Oh my,
It's a
long
shame.
time ago,
A long
7
time
years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. But he was there, and I think it is just fantastic that Pau Gasol got in there, and the truth is Mark's jersey is going to hang here, so and they were traded for each other in the long run, and it's I think the Gasol family is just a bunch of neat people. I thought they were when they got here. You know, they moved here because Mark was going to go to school here, and they wanted to make sure they could keep an eye on Pau, who was really a young kid when he first got here. He was, I think, only the second Spanish player to play in the NBA. He was the third overall pick, so that was the highest entry into the NBA by a Spanish player. It is a great story. The two brothers both have flourished so well, and they're set for life, so that is really a good story. All right. Now, the Lady Tigers last night, Memphis women, I don't think they call themselves the Lady Tigers anymore. I'm terrible with that. I don't know why they don't call themselves that, honestly, because I think of it as a good moniker, but they're just the Memphis women, I guess. And they, finished second in the league, which was a shock. They were picked like 6th or 7th. So USF is clearly and has been for a long since Connecticut left. They have been the top team in the American. They got a crew of people that have come from all over the world. Literally, it's like the UN in Tampa. And the guy who's the coach, I think he's originally from Argentina, maybe South America somewhere. And he's a great coach. They lose to the 8th seed Wichita State. Unbelievable. So that means Memphis can win. They're playing a team, UCF, that had just beaten a Tulsa team that Tulsa swept them in the regular season. But they beat them up pretty good. So all of a sudden, UCF's playing pretty good. UCF is beating the heck out of Memphis. Memphis can't score. They scored 8 in the first quarter. They scored 8 in the second quarter. They're down 12. They scored 16 points. They're the opposite of the Grizzlies. They have a 20-point fourth quarter. They were behind, other than an early lead in the first quarter, they're behind the whole game. Like I said, by double digits at the half. In the last 15 seconds, they take the lead and win the game. So they're going to play tonight against East Carolina, a team that was picked last and finished third. So their coach was coach of the year over Katrina Merriweather, which kind of ruffled my feathers. But I guess they were picked last. Memphis was picked 6th or 7th. So I guess their rise to third was a greater rise than was expected than Memphis's unexpected rise.
You
Follow that.
You win the league tournament, though. That's an excellent consolation prize behind that Coach of the Year award.
Well, who cares? Honestly,
Yeah.
First of all, that's not media that's doing it. All that stuff, there's probably jealousies and it's all coaches.
That's right.
I always thought, they should do both. They should do coaches and media. If that's beat writers or broadcasters, I don't care. People that are intimate with the league, that do the games on a nightly basis, those guys should be at least half the vote. Because the coaches, it gets political.
And how much do they care really when they're sitting in there? They're not putting a lot of thought into it. It's just something they have to get in by this deadline on this day.
Well,
all right, let's just get it done real quick.
Some of that, like the coaches poll, I agree. They let the SIDs really do it.
Yeah.
But I think for the vote, I think they want their voice heard. Because if they got a buddy, they're going to make sure that buddy gets there.
That's a good point.
However it worked, she's done a heck of a job. I'm not putting the East Carolina coach down, although I will say this: when Memphis played ECU, I had a great Zoom call with her, and she agreed to come on to start the second half. So going out of the game on this ESPN Plus broadcast, we talked to Katrina, the home coach, and then on the way in, you talk to the visiting coach. And I will tell you, 70% of the time, we never get the visiting coach. The visiting coach blows us off. This time, the East Carolina coach, who was delightful on the Zoom call, she'd agreed to do it. She came out, and she was so mad her team got blown away in the first half. So she was given, like, 2-word answers. It was ridiculous.
Oh, you love that, though.
So after that, I was going, God, I've changed my mind about her. And then she wins the darn thing over my girl, Katrina. Bummer. Anyway, so Memphis plays them today, and the door's open. Can you imagine? First of all, they've won 20 games for the first time in 12 years. They've now won 8 in a row. They're going to make postseason of some kind because the NIT in the women's game is actually a full field. It's the 64.
Wow.
Not 32 like the men's NIT.
Uh-huh.
So they're in. Their net is like right 60 or something like that.
But the big dance is a different animal.
If they get into the big dance, it'd be the first time. I don't know how many years. I'm guessing off the top of my head, it's 20 years. I think you got to go back to Joy Lee McNellis for that. I know Blair Savage never did. I don't think Melissa McFerrin ever got to the NCAA tournament.
Haven't been since 1998. They had a string of 95, 96, 97, 98. They went to the NCAA tournament all those years.
Joy Lee McNellis was a heck of a coach. So you're talking 98?
98.
So we're talking 25 years if they win. So they're playing tonight at 6 o'clock, and hopefully my plane lands in time. I want to go see that particular matchup and root for that because history could be in the making.
I also have to mention that Coach Johns went to the NCAA tournament 3 times in her own right.
Well, she's the program was started by Elma Rohn, but Mary Lou Johns is the pioneer, the foundation that really grew it. In fact, she took it from the AIAW. You know, the NCAA didn't have a women's division. There was the Athletic Intercollegiate Athletic Conference for Women or something like that. It was called the AIAW. That's what it was. And when the NCAA started, some holdover stayed with the other league. And then finally, all the schools were unified and they went into the NCAA. And the AIAW went away. But history could be made. They came back in a big way. We got a busy show. We're going to do a lot of SEC stuff. Their tournament will start, I think it's Thursday, right? Isn't that when they start with
I believe that's right.
2 games, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and LSU, Georgia?
Oh, no. Ole Miss plays tonight.
Oh, that's today. I'm sorry. You're right. I should have done that. It'll be right here.
On sport, that's right. Pregame starts at 5:30, I think, so a shortened sports time tonight.
Oh, poor Brett.
But we're going to get to preview the game ourselves on Sports Time and here in a minute with Brett.
Yes, we are. We're going to talk to Brett. It's a SEC-ish kind of a day, too, because we follow Brett Norsworthy with Ron Higgins. So we got a bunch of SEC and history of SEC and all of that. I got to ask them both if they like. I'm a little confused, too. Greg Sankey put forth what the permanent opponents would be in football. Each would get 3, each school. Is that in stone, or is that a Sankey proposition that'll be voted on maybe this week? Also, we'll ask Brett about that in a second. And also, Brett's been very connected as to what's going on with the Rebels and talks with Chris Beard. We'll get that skinny here in just a minute. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and a reminder, You want to cash in on the preseason patio and pool sale. So the state-of-the-art, biggest selection of patio furniture has this preseason sale. So you can save some cash there. Or with pool season right around the corner, buy now, get ahead of the summer rush, and get special early bird pricing. Plus, you get on the list to be installed if that's the way you want to go. And there's free layaway and special financings available. So get on over to see my buddies at Family Leisure I-40 and Whidden Road. And our title sponsor, it's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch. That's also where they sell Genesis cars. And there's a guy there named Vinny Gerard. He's waiting to see you. Tell him I sent you. Walk in there and, Genesis is the luxury side of the best product out there, I think, Hyundais. And these cars, like the G70, that's the little sports car, it's a rocket. I mean, it takes off. I've driven it, and they will tell you. When I took that car for a drive, they said, please be aware of how fast you're going because this thing takes off. And it does. And you can get one of those G70s with a special price. And now, if you finance with Genesis, they'll give you a $1,000 rebate. Basically, they're paying you to do business with them. Please, go see my friends, Vinny Gerard and, of course, Chris True, who's over it all, right there at Highway 78 Lamar and the first exit in Mississippi Craft Road. Go see the good folks at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis. We pause for a second. When we come back to Forest City, we go on a rainy day. We talk SEC with the one and only Brett Norsworthy.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry: Honda mowers, trimmers, and generators, Steel blowers, trimmers, and chainsaws, Echo trimmers, blowers, and chainsaws, plus quality products from Red Mat and Shindawa. And they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
This March, take your first shot at college hoops with FanDuel Sportsbook and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets up to $200. That's right. Just bet $20 on the bracket and you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 you could spend betting everything from the money line to point spreads to that 5 versus 12 seed matchup you've been eyeing. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. There's no better place to bet the tournament than FanDuel Sportsbook. Sign up today by going to FanDuel.com/win and make every moment more with FanDuel all tournament long.
Must be present in state where lawful to wager. 21 plus in select states. First online real money wager. Only $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable sportsbook bonus bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit KSGamblingHelp.com Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP Louisiana. Visit MDGamblingHelp.org in Maryland. 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. 1-800-522-4700 Wyoming or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net West Virginia.
Looking for a great home-cooked late lunch with meat and veggies? Make sure to stop into 10th Inning Sports Bar and Grill Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for baked and fried chicken, hamburger steaks, chicken dumplings, catfish, and more with yummy vegetables. Plus a great brunch on the weekends from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. 10th Inning Grill has plenty of TVs for all your favorite sports. Visit them on Facebook to see the daily specials. 10th Inning Sports Bar and Grill, voted best sports bar in DeSoto County, Gidwell Road, South Haven.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Oh, March Madness is definitely here. You know who loves that? Dinstles loves that because they know you're having a watch party. You want to be the hit of the party? You stop by any of their 5 locations: Laurelwood, Germantown, Collierview, Pleasant View. Downtown is a cool place, by the way. And you pick up whatever, like the strawberries. Nobody does it like Dinstles does. Cashew Crunch, maybe that's their signature. Although the fudge wins international awards, turtlettes are so darn good. Everything is so good. If you take it to cheer on your team to a party, You'll be the hit of the party, I promise. You always are a winner when you bring Dinstals. We head to Forest City, and I this is a fair question to ask. The Ole Miss Rebels are playing first round of the SEC basketball tournament. They are playing the woeful South Carolina Gamecocks. When was the last time, SEC historian Brett Norsworthy, when was the last time the Ole Miss Rebels were 7.5-point favorites?
It's got to be a while. They weren't favored over South Carolina that big in Oxford back on February the 11th or so, and because I was at that game and lost that game. They lost to South Carolina in Oxford, and everybody knew what was going to happen really from the North Alabama game right before Christmas on. But that mostly kind of sealed it for that. But Ole Miss hadn't been that big a favorite. They might have been that big a favorite against North Alabama around Christmas. And I'd seen North Alabama against the Tigers, and they were not very good. Ended up having a pretty decent year.
Well, Tony Madlock's a good coach.
No, Tony's not at North Alabama. He's at South Carolina State.
Oh, that's right. Who's at North Alabama?
I'm not certain.
Darn.
I'm not certain, but they ended up having a pretty good year. But it's surprising to see Ole Miss there tonight as the favorite. In the 5 years of Kermit Davis, his teams, I know he's not the coach tonight, but he's played on Wednesday night. His team's played on Wednesday night 3 of the 5. That is, I think, for the next head coach at Ole Miss, if he has 5 years, if you're on the first night of the SEC tournament, 3 of them, you'll be out too.
All right. Who's going to be the next coach? First off, is Ole Miss playing better under the interim coach than they were under?
They're playing hard, but they played hard under Kermit.
Yeah.
They did. It's just such a grind in the offensive end, and it's so hard to. They don't really have a throw it to a guy, clear out, get out of the way, and let him score. They have a lot of people that have to do it off of a set, and the set takes so long. You're down to the end of the shot clock, and if you hadn't had a good set, you're kind of throwing up a bomb at the end of the shot clock, and it's been so disruptive then to get your defense set after a miss. I mean, it's kind of just the spiral, Dave, of when you're not going well. But they did play hard under Kermit, and he did coach his guts out, and he did take it, I think, very high road. I mean, the number of times after games he would start with David, let me apologize for this team, for my effort. Never crushed the youngsters. And I thought he handled it about as gracefully as it could be handled. But he's out. Who's going to be in? I think it'll be Chris Beard. I think it'll be soon.
You do think it'll be Chris Beard?
I do.
When will that announcement be made?
I don't know that. Honestly, Dave, I thought it would have been done by now. But a lot of due diligence, a lot of going back and double-checking and making sure, both of the legal entanglement last fall, and also how very wound tight Coach Beard is in good times, and then the incident that cost him his job at Texas, that he has now been formally, legally, totally cleared by the league, the entire legal apparatus, by the accuser, by everyone involved. The man has been cleared. I think you should be able to pursue your occupation from that point on, and it probably be the only set of circumstances ever for Ole Miss to land, quite arguably, the best coach in the sport. How many times in Ole Miss basketball history have they had an opening or not an opening, and they could go get the best coach in the sport, arguably? And I think he is certainly in that half dozen to a dozen, certainly top 15 head coaches in the country.
I would concur with that. There is an amazing amount of baggage that will be here. This will be a split decision. There will be many who will go, wow, like you say, can't get a guy like this. We're lucky we're getting this break. There are going to be some that are going, man.
Souls for sale.
Ole Miss just doesn't care. They want to win, and they have sold their soul.
Mm-hmm. There's going to be that. Keith Carter knows it. The chancellor knows it. That I think my pure supposition is that Keith really had to sell. Keith Carter, director of athletics, had to sell the chancellor, Chancellor Boyce on it, and I think that has been what has held it up to this point? Because the chancellor runs a school. Keith runs the athletics department.
Right. And the whole school is going to be affected by this hire.
That's right.
There's no doubt about that. I hope, and I don't really know Chris Beard. I know some have said he's incredibly intense and a little insane. I know that
wound tight.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But we also know he's won everywhere. Everywhere he's gone. And including Arkansas, Little Rock, and Texas Tech, and
Texas,
and was winning at Texas, and that guy's
Texas could still go to the Final Four.
Yeah, with an interim, which that I don't think that guy's going to end up with a job, but he's done a heck of a job.
That's Indiana State stuff going to a Final Four with an interim.
That's right.
That's what Larry Bird.
He does not have Larry Bird though.
No, Larry Bird's not walking in that door.
I watched that team lose to TCU. When Damian Ball won the game for him. I mean, Damian Ball. Here's a quick one for you, all right? And then we'll get back.
I got my answer.
What am I going to ask?
What player that's transferred would you like to plug in and play for the Tigers now?
No, I was going to ask you this. This team against Memphis' current team, who would win? Your backcourt is Damian Ball and Boogie Ellis.
Oh, this current team.
Your center
give me Kendrick Davis and let me go to war.
Hold on. Your center, Musa Cisse.
Mm-hmm.
Up front is Landers Nolly and DJ Jeffrey. Off the bench shooting is Tyler Harris. Which team wins that?
This team. This team with a hale and hearty, 100% healthy Malcolm Dandridge that can give you the minutes he gave Sunday, which was really abnormal even in good times.
Yeah. Well, he averaged under 15, and he played 28. So just
it was
double.
a yeoman's effort Sunday. A few things you could have questioned. You'll go straight up with it and let it fly. But he had those big guys around him, and Houston's really good. But, Dave, I take this team because it is a team. It is going in one direction. It's not a jazz band. It's a symphony. And the conductor's Coach Penny Hardaway, and he likes this team better than if you threw that team you just assembled at him. I think he'd go, oh, no. I mean, life's too short to have to go through that again with all those guys and all that came with a lot of those guys. This grouping bought into winning. They bought into winning right out of the gate. Speaking of out of the gate, go back to Sunday afternoon, November 20th, and a great win that just doesn't get a near enough conversation, and it was easy over Virginia Common.
Oh, yeah. No, that's when you're going, is VCU any good? Because Memphis dominated that game for sure.
Opening night against Vandy that's closing strong.
Oh, yeah. I know Vandy's not on the bubble, but if they made a run here and let's say Mississippi State loses early, who knows?
All right. Let's go on that Vandy run. They play the winner of tonight's game, LSU Georgia, the last game of the night.
When's the last time they were not in the first round?
They've managed to not do that.
Not under Stackhouse.
I don't think under Stackhouse, and maybe not even Bryce Drew. It could be a while. You're right. So they get the winner of LSU Georgia tonight. LSU's got one player. Georgia's got about two. So they get the winner of that. Let's say they win that. Then they get Kentucky in Nashville. Kentucky will have more people there because of the tournament setup. It won't be like it.
They beat Kentucky this year.
They beat them again. Then they get A&M on Saturday afternoon.
Oh.
Get to the finals against Bama, and Bama really put it on them.
I think if they got to A&M, if State lost early, who's another bubble team from there?
Well, has Arkansas played on the bubble?
Auburn maybe.
But Arkansas is not a bubble team because of their net, but it's a great example of the net does not come close to correlating with your seed.
No, and it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Like Kentucky's a 22 net. And look at all the bad games they've
Tennessee.
lost. How about West Virginia? They're a 23 net last I looked, and they're way under 500 in their league. Now, their league is the best net league in the history of net, but still, the last I looked, they were 5-11, I think, in conference, or 6-11, and they had a 23 net.
one of the many fun things about this time of year, Dave, is, starting now, you have about max 2 losses left in you. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
For everybody.
That's right. You've got 2. You've got 1 in your conference, and if you're lucky enough to get in the NCAA from that, the next loss, you're done. That's spot on.
That's it.
Who's the guy you would plugged in? From the group that I just mentioned, unless there's another one I'm not thinking about, who is the guy that you would add?
Musa, just to have a little more rim protection.
I think I'd add Damian Baugh because he's another two-way guy. I mean, he's a good defender. He's a really good assist guy. He's improved his shot. He is so much better now than when he left Memphis. You realize he was here for a couple of years. His second year, his numbers went down significantly. Now, there were a bunch of guys that were vying for minutes, and he got a little frustrated with that, I think. But, man, he's turned out to be a heck of a player.
Old school reference. His game reminds me very much, this guy went to the Final Four and then played on that great '84 Olympics team. His game reminds me of Vern Fleming's game.
Really,
kind of that long two-way player.
Hey, he's a good guy, and I'm happy for him. And TCU's a good team. I mean, they can beat anybody on a given night. They really can. All right, so explain to me the 3 opponents that each school was given in the new SEC setup, where you're going to play 9 conference games. Is that a done deal, or is that just a proposal that Greg Sankey, the commissioner, put out there?
I don't know if it's in Charlton Heston Moses tablets yet, but it's pretty close. Ross Dellinger reported it, and I think he got it on very reliable information. It still could be some tweaks. I think Nick Saban is whining a little bit, and I love him, and I think he's the greatest college football coach ever. But his 3 permanent opponents are already permanent opponents, and they're gonna keep Auburn. The college football world demands them play LSU, and they're going to keep third Saturday in October with Tennessee.
Right. So I don't have a problem with that, but that is a tough schedule. Ole Miss
who do you think he was going to get? Mizzou, Kentucky, and Vandy?
Right. Yeah, I don't know what he was thinking, and of any program that could handle the 3 toughest, that's the program that can do it. And honestly, that's going to solidify yourself in a spot with a 12-team playoff. That's your ranking or whatever barometer they use, they use to get in there. You win those 3, maybe 2 out of those 3, you're good.
And, Dave, you can get ready for it. I guarantee you Ron Higgins will confirm this. That first year, the first release of the 12-teamer, there's going to be an SEC team in there with 3 regular season losses.
I don't dispute that. Not with this league. I think LSU's got a tough one. Ole Miss, A&M, and Alabama. Holy
Real
cow.
tough.
You guys, Memphis, Mississippi State, LSU, Arkansas. I think that's perfect, really.
And always, 2 of the 3. To the old-timers, LSU's the biggest rivalry, but in reality, the biggest rivals the Egg Bowl. To older, more experienced fans, they long for the LSU rivalry days, but LSU doesn't look back at it like that. To have a rivalry, you got to have 2 tango. And then for me, I love the Ole Miss-Arkansas game. I may be the only one, but I love it because
I'm with you. I love it.
It always delivers.
It's regional. It's what you're supposed to have with college athletics, which is
That's
gone
right.
now with these expanded conferences that are all over the place.
Especially with $3 gasoline.
West Virginia and the Big 12, come on.
Yeah, and the idea of Mizzou playing Florida, look at Mizzou's 3 permanent. But the real debate, the fun stuff is going to be who's the other 6 and how do they rotate that, and how often do you see those teams?
The Missouri-Arkansas makes sense to me. Vandy,
they're forcing it.
Oklahoma a little bit. Vandy, why is Vandy in there? I guess because you got to find 3 schools for Vandy. I don't know. Vandy's 3 or Tennessee. That makes sense. Auburn and then Missouri.
Okay, who is Florida's? Because Florida's got one real outlier.
Florida is Georgia, South Carolina. The outlier is Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, yeah. Nothing says college football like the Norman to Gainesville axis. But it'd be a good game.
Well, and I thought looking at Oklahoma's Texas, of course, Missouri and Florida. Why isn't A&M in that?
I don't know.
That, to me, that made, like, you were going to play Texas A&M and Oklahoma. They were all going to be involved together every year, and they're not doing it that way.
Everybody was wanting Vandy, and it's not reality.
Of course they were. No doubt about that. But are you happy with the way Ole Miss has it?
I am. I love it. I love those rivalries, those series, and now I'm ready to see the other 6, and I'm ready to see, obviously with 9, you're going to play 5 at home and 4 on the road, or 4 or vice versa, and just wonder to see how tough they make it for that team that has to play 5 on the road. Do you get a little lighter, at least one lighter opponent?
That's interesting how they'll do that, because it's all going to change every year. It seems to me they're going to schedule that thing out. So that will be fun to watch. I think Tennessee.
See, that's why I want 10 league games.
Tennessee got away with murder here. They got the best one. They got Alabama, and then you're talking Vandy and South Carolina. And not to say that geographically that's wrong, but they're getting a break on this, at least the way the SEC is going these days.
Historically, they are. But right now, Shane Beamer, he wants him some Tennessee.
Yeah. Good luck. Because I got the feeling
I agree.
The Heupel's got
I'll go
that
with
thing
historical
going.
data.
Yeah, me too. As always, my friend, thank you. We appreciate
Dave,
it.
be safe. Man, we're going
will.
to be listening to you. Love this time of year. Thank you, Dave.
Oh, man, I love this time of year. I really do. This is
I do
the
too.
best.
Yeah, I love it.
That is Brett Norsworthy. He's brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and right now, it's time for that air conditioning tune-up. You tune up with Conway, and you're going to save money in the long run. Why? I'll tell you. First off, you don't want your system to break down. You want your system to be efficient, because if your system is efficient, it means you're saving money on your MLGW bill. So get it tuned up now. Save money. Make sure there's no breakdown when it gets really hot. And keep your family cool all summer long. It's $69 for the air conditioning super tune-up. That's 16 points that they tune up. You know the drill. It's fantastic. I've been doing it for years. My system doesn't break down. 384-3511, or you can go to conwayservices.com for details and for all of the terms. We pause for a second. When we come back to Baton Rouge, we go more SEC with Ron Higgins. He's right around the corner.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, we have it all. From handmade Amish leather belts, fine and casual clothing, boots, casual boots, work boots, fancy boots, and even safety-toed boots. Lots of cowboy hats to choose from, even Nebo lights, Orco hard coolers, good-looking duck head dress shirts, duck head caps, shorts, and pants. Tons of jeans from Ariat, Wrangler, Devil Dog, and Kimes Ranch jeans. At Hewlett & Dunn, we have a great selection of Old South t-shirts and caps, fine clothing from dress to casual to Sunday best. Enjoy choosing from UFO's orthopedic-approved shoes. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Boots of every size, every color, every skin. Great quality Western, work, and safety toe boots. Hewlett & Dunn Boots and Clothing Company. 111 North Center Street, Collierville. Hewlett & Dunn. Hewlett & Dunn, serving you and your family since 1961.
Gain presents a tale of longing and long-lasting scent. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Add Gain scent beads for an even longer-lasting scent.
I've always gotten tons of UTIs. Cranberry products never worked for me, and I was desperate for a way to be proactive. I'm Jenna Ryan, CEO and founder of Eucora. We've worked with doctors to develop effective urinary tract health products. Just mix a packet of Eucora with water and drink it when you need support, like right after intimacy. Eucora is helping over 100,000 women stay healthy. Ready to join them? Get 30% off at eucora.com/radio. That's UQORA.com/radio.
Hey, Stop working for Sunrise Buick GMC truck. Thinking about buying a new or used car or truck? Remember, the selection's better and the savings are bigger at Sunrise. Over 600 new cars and trucks to choose from. Factory rebates up to $1,000 and interest rates low as 2.9. Bad credit? It's okay. At Sunrise, we've got a financing plan for everybody. SunriseMemphis.com. We're saving you money. It's just the way you're doing business. Covington, Pike, Wolf Chase, and Collierville. We make it fun to buy a car again. Check out the all-new Sunrise Truck Corral. Huge selection of nothing but trucks. All makes, all models, all prices, all trucks, all the time. Next to Sunrise Wolf Chase.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in down the stretch on this Wednesday, hump day, March the 8th. Man, I was just texting with Brett Norsley. I can't believe since football season began, when we get into the heart of everything, right? This is our seasons. 28 weeks have passed by. 28 weeks. That is absolutely nutso. Also involved in all of those times was my friend down in Baton Rouge, our SEC historian. That would be Ron Higgins. Good morning. How are you doing? Can you believe 28
I'm good,
weeks?
Wolo. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Time. It seems like these seasons go by faster as I get older. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, I mean, the basketball season seemed to fly by. I mean, it seemed like just yesterday LSU was winning its first SEC game in basketball before not winning another one until about 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
I just saw on Twitter, I guess it's a commercial appeal story, Memphis Showboats tickets go on sale right now for the 2023 USFL season, which begins, I think, April 15th, the Showboats play. And I bring this up. It's so weird. Because I had no idea I was going to go in this direction with you. But it dawned on me, the very first time I really got to know you was in a bar in Georgetown outside of Washington, D.C., for the Bulls, for the Boats and the Generals. I think it was, Washington Generals. Is that right? Was it Washington Generals?
What was it? No, it was New Jersey Generals.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It was Baltimore. They were playing Baltimore.
Baltimore. Oh, that's right. The Baltimore, because, but we were staying in D.C., and that was the first time I met you. We were with Paul Hartledge.
and yeah. I know what you're going to say. We're sitting at a table.
Yeah, go ahead. Let you tell the story.
Okay, we're sitting at a table, and, of course, Paul Hartledge loved his beer.
Yes.
I mean, the man liked his beer. And so he reaches over, and he basically he grabbed it like it was a pitcher, okay?
So, it was a really large glass that almost kind of looked like a pitcher.
I said, God, Jesus, Hartledge, you want to share some of that?
You went to grab it, and he grabbed your arm, and he said, and we didn't even know you. And he said, that's mine.
I'm like, you drink a pitcher? He goes, that's a mug.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, Paul, you like beer so much, he would literally, seriously, you had to get to know him to realize what was going to go on, but he ordered 2 to start. Like, don't touch that second one of his, because that's his. Of course, you never could, because he was done with 2 before I was like 3 sips into my first.
We could tell Paul Hartledge stories all day. My favorite was when he used to talk about one time he was like an assistant track coach, I think high school.
Yes.
You see, I basically stand there with a stopwatch and a clipboard smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. That was Paul. Oh, that was Paul. All right. You have any excitement whatsoever about the SEC tournament?
Not really. I mean, LSU will probably be out tonight. And
yep.
If they're not out tonight, they'll be out when they play Vanderbilt. I mean, I think it's depending how much Alabama is motivated, this could, and Kentucky intrigues me. They play hot and cold, and then they could play if Vanderbilt gets through to the quarterfinals. I mean, they could play Vanderbilt.
Well, the Tigers are 2.5-point favorites over Georgia tonight.
Yeah, that's stunning. I mean, LSU's MO is they just they give up about 15 to 16 points a game off of turnovers. They turn the ball over a lot, and that's been their bugaboo this year. A lot of their bugaboo this year, but that's one of them. They don't play very well in long stretches. Concentration kind of wanes. And plus, honestly, they're just this team was put together. They're kind of outmanned talent-wise. I know everything can happen. If they can win one game in this tournament, that'll be great for them. That'd be really good for them. But I'm looking at what's amazing is that Tennessee has fallen to a fifth seed because they just you get your point guard hurt. And
losing Ziegler really is devastating.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough going forward in the NCAA tournament. Not a great time to have an injury.
No, and Vescovy needs help too. It seems to me, in real pressure situations, particularly at the free throw line, late in games when he's supposed to hit, he does not do a very good job with that. And Ziegler would have been more, I think, clutch than Vescovy.
Yeah, and I like A&M. I think A&M is kind of,
they're the hot team.
Yeah, they play pretty well all year. Vanderbilt's come on strong. I mean, a month and a half ago, they were fired Jerry Stackhouse. He's the SEC head coach of the year. So they've come on strong. I mean, some teams have faded a bit. Auburn's kind of faded. Tennessee's got some problems. I think Alabama's been pretty steady mostly. Kentucky's been kind of blows hot and cold. So, I mean, I think it's an interesting tournament. I do think it's a bit wide open. I do. Everybody, except for Alabama, has kind of been a little bit inconsistent, which kind of makes it interesting to make this tournament.
How distracted do you think they are by this Miller Miles stuff?
I think they're kind of used to it by now. Honestly, it's going on for a couple of weeks, and I think they're kind of learning how to handle it by now. They understand, particularly as we get into the postseason like this, where you have open locker rooms for media. Media can go to locker rooms afterwards and talk to players. And so I'm sure the Alabama PR people have prepped their team. Every athletic department, most athletic departments have people who prep their players to work with the media and anticipate questions. And I'm sure they've been well versed on this one. Too bad the coach hasn't gone through that training.
Yeah, right. Boy, has he ever? He's was absolutely a rising star, and he has doused his own flame with.
It's just,
poor PR skill.
Yeah, I know he wants to protect his own players. I get that. But somebody just should have told him right away on this kind of stuff. Listen, just say it's under investigation. I can't talk about it. I'm sorry. But you should say my school has told me not to talk about this.
Right.
And he didn't do that. He's been behind the eight ball ever since. But I think Alabama still has a good shot to win it. It depends how interested they are. I mean, when you have a pretty high seed wrapped up, you're not there that interested in conference tournament. Just like LSU women's basketball, they really care whether they won or lost. And they have a high seed. And then, Kim Mulkey had said before the tournament, she said, I've always hated postseason tournaments for teams that have had really good seasons. And she said, even when I was at Baylor, I always thought it was unfair for a lot of these conferences that have one team that dominates all year. And she's talking not just major conference, mid-majors, that dominates all year. And they get upset in the conference tournament by some team with barely a 500 record. All of a sudden, the team that's like 26-2 has to go to the NIT or something like that. She's been pretty adamant about that. But I've been watching all the tournaments so far, and it's always fun to watch these teams that haven't been like for 20 years win game and go to tournaments.
Right.
So that's the beauty of March. The best part of March, really, honestly, is these conference tournaments for a lot of mid majors, and the first week where you get a lot of upsets. After that, it kind of settles in.
Right. Well, and SEMO, like in this region, Nice to see. I haven't been to an NCAA tournament in 20 years. So that there are some pretty good stories there. You mentioned the women and Kim Mulkey. Katrina Merriweather's done an amazing turnaround job here, and she could get the women, the Memphis women, into the NCAA tournament. It would be the first time in 25 years, and she's got a shot at that.
Wow.
Now that South Florida, the number 1 seed, has lost. Real quick, last thing. Brett Norsworthy has said that he thinks, and as soon as possibly today, Chris Beard will be the new head basketball coach at Ole Miss. What is your take on that?
I think it's what he was fired for was probably more defensible than hiring Will Wade. I mean, he got fired and they dropped the charges, and you get the charges dropped. It doesn't expound you of guilt, but I think Ole Miss. Ole Miss is not afraid to take chances. They took a chance with Lane Kiffin, right. And sometimes if you're, and I don't mean this in any kind of slight to Ole Miss, but if you're not on the top level of SEC schools with the biggest budgets and the biggest tradition, you take chances. And is this a chance? Yeah, it's a risk, but it's a good risk. Just like Lane Kiffin was a good risk. Sometimes you automatically can't get. Look, Ole Miss couldn't have gotten Beard 2 or 3 years ago. They couldn't have got him. But sometimes something like this happens, and you pick a guy up off the waiver wire who really needs a job, and maybe this will work for him. But I like to see Ole Miss win. I like to see State win. I like to see the teams in the SEC who don't have the biggest budgets. And I know they shared revenue sharing. Everybody says, well, they get like $50 million in the SEC. That's fine and dandy, but still, you're kind of up against it, trying to find NIL supporters now and everything else. And basically, you simply can get outbought now, for players by anybody. When Saban's bitching about the NIL and people buying players, it's tough. But imagine for the rest of the SEC that maybe doesn't have as many rich boosters or whatever, and so I kind of pull for those teams. I really do. I mean, I've always kind of the Mississippi teams in that league have always kind of been underdogs, and so anytime they achieve, like Mississippi State won the national championship in baseball a couple years ago, almost last year, I was thrilled, man. I was absolutely thrilled. One of the best times I ever had was Mississippi State's run to the Final Four in '96. It was Dante Jones.
Right, I remember that well.
Yeah, so I'm always happy when those schools really get it going. I really do, and I always been that way. I like the whole SEC to be good and not just dominated by 3 or 4 teams. I know in football it seems that way, but it evens out a little bit more in other sports.
Well, Chris Beard can be the equalizer because you're right. He would not have taken an Ole Miss job 2 or 3 years ago. He sort of was forced to, and some people are going to think Ole Miss sold their soul, but this should make them competitive right off the bat. As always, my friend, we appreciate you so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Everybody thinks they sell their soul when they start winning. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That is exactly right. That is Ron Higgins. He is brought to you by the Old Dominick Distillery, a proud partner, by the way, of the Tigers. They are Memphis's distillery right in the heart of downtown. They offer full distillery tours, curated tastings, craft cocktails that are outstanding. You go to the bar, well, you've had a nice night in downtown Memphis, you're looking for something different, go to that bar. You'll love their products. You'll love their new whiskey. Alex Castle, she's their master distiller. She never releases a product till it's perfect. She waited a long time with this bottle-in-bond whiskey and another sipping whiskey. It is out now. You can get it all over town, including places like my buddy Eddie Connor and the Spirit Shop. Old Dominick, all Memphis. You will love every bit about it, and go do the tour on Main Street. I'm telling you, it's unique. If you got folks in town, you're looking for something different to do, you will love touring Old Dominic Distillery. That'll do it for me. I'll talk to you from Dallas, Texas tomorrow. Johnny Radio is next.